I'm here to tell the story of my nephew and tell my recovery story so that maybe it'll help people.
So I guess let's start.
Because I've come a long, long way, and it's amazing. He was born on his mother's 19th birthday. To say Ricky had a hard life would be an understatement. He grew up around addiction. His mom and dad partied all the time, and he was raised by his grandparents mostly, and he had uncles that were about around the same age as him, and they were showing him dirty magazines and smoking weed with him when he was just 6 years old. And his home life wasn't all that great. He, every time the rent would come due, his parents would move in with the grandparents until they had enough money to rent another house. And about 9 or 10 years, when Ricky was about 9 or 10 years old, his mom and dad got a divorce, and his dad dropped out of his life. And never came back, more or less, and his mom did too for a couple of years. She went to work and never came back one day. And when she finally did kind of get her stuff together, they moved back in with him and his sister moved back in with her. He started doing meth when he was 14 years old, and his mom didn't know what to do with him, so she put him in group home after group home. And from there, he went and did stints in prison and a lot of jail time in Greene County. And, Ricky, he tried so hard to better his life. He'd want a better life when he was in prison, but when he got out, he was always drawn to the drugs and to people, his old friends. And the last time he got out of prison was February 12th of 2021, and we buried him 6 months later, exactly to the day. So he was doing really good. He was deep in his Bible studies and everything, and he got a job and went back to town. His mom and stepdad live in the country, and he went back to town for his job, and he met a girl, and he was at their house, and I guess, she offered him meth, and he went in the bathroom to do it, and it had fentanyl in it, and it killed him. And they heard his phone ringing and ringing and ringing, and they didn't go in there and check on him. They just let him sitting there and die, so.
Yeah.
My brother called me, told me. I was devastated. Me and him were pretty close, and we also, something I do feel bad about, we did do drugs together too. And the fondest memory I have of him is down at Easter Sunday. Right before he died, he said grace at the dinner table and stuff. I was like, wow, maybe he really has changed his ways. He was a really good person. He had the most beautiful smile. His parents weren't very good to him. He was bullied by his family and his close friends for being, he weighed like 300 pounds when he was like 10 or 11 years old. He was a big boy. And, he started doing the meth, and he lost weight, and he got more confidence. And he had a lot of girlfriends that were drug people, He just had a hard time getting away from it all. And he did the last 6 months he was out, he got away from it. He lived with his parents, with his mom and his stepdad, which is my brother. And he was doing pretty good there for a while. And then he just, he came to town for work, and that was it. That was it for him. I didn't never do fentanyl, but I'm very familiar with it because my son was a fentanyl addict. And he got out of prison in 2023, I believe. Yeah, it was, I think, January 2023, and he immediately started doing it when he got out, and he was living with me. And I was finding, baggies and needles and stuff in my bathroom. And I talked to him about it, and I called his PO about it too. It's probably wasn't the right thing to do, But I called his PO, and that still didn't do anything. So I found more needles in the bathroom. He was real careless about it. If he didn't want me to know about it, he was real careless. And I took him over to talk to John Stroop over at Freeway Ministries. And then he was okay after that. And he's doing really good now. He's got a job as a meat cutter over at Cash Savers. And he goes to work every day, works overtime, takes care of his mom. He does real good with me now, really close. And my son had a little dog. I gave him I got a little puppy for him, thinking that maybe if he has something to take care of and be responsible for, that maybe he would change. And that didn't help him. And I went over to his house one day, and he was just taking her around with him, doing his wheeling and dealing. And I took her away from him and brought her home with me. And I think that's his motivation too, is her, because he loves it. He loves that little dog. So I grew up in a normal family home. My mom with parents, a couple of brothers, and had a real good childhood. And around the age of 13, I started drinking alcohol, smoking weed, and just the crowd I was around, I thought it was cool. They thought it was cool, And I had my oldest son when I was 14, and then went on to have two other sons. And my addiction really started after my brother, a different brother, he passed away from fentanyl patches, poisoning all over his body. He put them all over his body, and he ate a bunch of meth and killed himself. And it was in the desert in California. And from then on, I started using meth real heavy, and in my late 30s. And most of that I lived with my mom. My high self, I was taking advantage of her, not paying her any rent, not helping her pay with any bills, not helping her clean, taking her car to whatever trap house I was going to, and shooting dope in her bathroom. And she got sick. She had a stroke. And, I asked God, I said, God, you're going to have to take this addiction from me, because, I have a responsibility now. I have to take care of my mother. And he took away everything. He took away the memories, the cravings. Just one day, boom, it was gone. Now I own my own home, and I'm paying payments on my first car. My first car on payments. And I have a job taking care of the developmental disabled people, like Down syndrome. And I feel like that's my calling from God. I've been doing it for many years, and I love it. I went from living with my mom, being a needle junkie for 21 years, to I've been clean for 4 years now, but from going from that and run the streets, hanging out in trap houses, to what I am now, I did it mostly for me, but to set an example for my children, that it's possible you can change. And I try to set an example for Ricky too, but my youngest son smokes weed, but, and my middle son, he was in the Army, and he just recently got saved and gave his life to Christ, and he works with me, taking care of the people I take care of. So he used to be an alcoholic, and he's been clean for a couple of years now. But I'm just saying, if people out there don't think that there's hope and that they can change, there's hope out there. I'm living proof. So